Welcome to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko, the show that brings you man-on-the-street interviews, celebrity guests, groundbreaking research, and heartwarming stories about the reasons we smile. Our show is also known as everything you've always wanted to know about dentistry, but we're too numb to ask. Hello, I'm General Dentist Dr. Kvitko, and thank you for joining me today.
The following views and opinions do not necessarily reflect those of this station, its staff, management, or parent company. To hear a replay of this show or one of the great shows that previously aired, log on to thereasonswesmile.com or iTunes, keyword Dr. Kvitko or The Reasons We Smile. Listeners should not use Dr. Kvitko's comments and advice in place of an actual dental exam.
Brighten your life with a smile that shows the professional touch of Dr. Kvitko.
Time now for The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. Call 459-9769 to discuss your dental issues. Now, here's your host, Dr. Kvitko.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Reasons We Smile. I'm Dr. Kvitko. Thank you so much for joining me. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be an awesome show. By the way, today is episode number 495. My guest today is Congressman Paul Gosar. He represents Arizona's 4th District, and he has introduced some legislation that's going to help fix the healthcare issue, and it is going to help, I believe, make healthcare better, because what it is the repeal of the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which gave insurance companies an exemption against antitrust violations, and if we take that away, which is what this legislation would do, it will make them compete and hopefully have them provide better service. So anyway, we're going to get to Dr. Gosar in just a second. Let me remind you, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Dr. Kvitko, and if you would please go to my office Facebook page and like us, that would be awesome. Also, all past episodes, complete with video, are available at thereasonswesmile.com. And I want to remind you that we do a Dr. Kvitko's question of the day, and so you may want to pre-program into your phone 614-459-9769 so that you're ready when we do the question of the day. And the winner will receive free flowers from DeSantis Florist. And we'll be doing the contest in about 8 to 10 minutes. All right, so thank you, Congressman Gosar, for being on my show. I really, really appreciate it. It's nice to have you.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. We certainly appreciate being called to be on.
Awesome. So I want to cover several things, and one is, well, I'm going to list them all now so we can get them out there. And one is a bill that you proposed, and it's been passed by the House, to repeal the McCarran-Ferguson Act. And I know that's kind of your baby, so we definitely want to talk about that. Another is this thing called non-covered services provision, and I'm sure you're familiar with that, which is where an insurance company can tell a dentist how much they can charge for things that aren't even covered.
Right.
And another is I want to find out what you think of this whole dental therapist model. And then probably some of this is just me asking you, why can't we do this? For example, here, I'll just list them and then we'll cover them later. One of my questions is going to be, how about a law that requires insurance companies to insure the entire human body? Why let them segment it into, you have to have vision or you have to have mental health special coverage? Another is, how about a law that says it can't be called insurance if it's just a discount coupon? So unless it covers, let's pick a number, 60% of the medical or dental bill, can't call it insurance. That sounds like a law you guys could pass. So those are pretty much the four. And so let's start with probably your baby. And you mentioned this when you were on the show last time, and I asked you about a lot of this other stuff, and you said, okay, first things first, we have this baby steps. So the first thing you said was that we need to try to get this McCarran-Ferguson Act repealed. And for the people that don't know, that was passed in 1945 by Congress, and it gives insurance companies an exemption against antitrust violations when they talk to each other. So they've had all these years to be able to talk to each other, share information, and basically gang up on the doctors, right? And
Well, once upon a time in 1944, there was Southeastern Underwriters versus the U.S. And basically the Supreme Court struck down the fact that insurance industries could be subject to antitrust. And that's when the insurance industry ran to Congress. And maybe back in 1945, I could understand those premises. In a fledgling type of industry, they needed to help to develop the parameters in which they built the insurance model. They didn't have good computers, didn't have good algorithms, didn't have good mathematicians.
I get it.
So that's
okay.
why that's what it was given. So
Okay.
they were given a limited exemption from Sherman and Clayton antitrust laws, where the rest of us have been subject to them. Well, now they have the best of everything. They actually have the best algorithms, they have the best computers, they have the best mathematicians. And we're at this crisis point in healthcare, and we need the insurers to start to compete against each other, to start delivering products that are insightful, tools that are consumer-based that actually helps us lead the way in a marketplace that's besieged with very little competition. The same plan looks pretty much from Blue Cross Blue Shield as it is from Humana or Kaiser Permanente.
Right.
So now what they got to start doing is competing. And when you look at Obamacare, you actually saw 4 groups that sold you out as the patient. That is the insurers, you saw the pharmaceuticals, the big hospitals and big doctor groups, and then you saw the tort attorneys. Now, which one of the 4 actually has some influence on 3 parts of that? That's the insurers,
right.
The compensation for themselves, for the pharmaceutical industry, and for the big hospitals and doctors. This has a plethora fold of benefits to it. All of a sudden, they got to start competing for our dollars with more products that are in tune to our spending habits. What we want to take as risks, benefiting best behaviors. Why is it that people who are on best behaviors have to pay the same critical insurance that somebody that has bad behaviors? There's lots of things that can help out. Same thing with pharmaceuticals. Why can't we have better application of those pharmaceuticals? And then doctors. A lot of our colleagues in the physicians world are on panels, and now you'll see competition in that marketplace, that if I'm hiring you as a physician on a panel, I'm going to have to treat you better. Maybe I help you with med-mal, maybe I give you better compensation to see the patients that are now signed up for my insurance. So the whole new world of reinvigorating that insurance marketplace that's been void of any of this new creative ideas has to start with this breakup. The one thing that we did give them is the Supreme Court and the Federal Trade Commission actually allowed the medical loss data ratios to be used, and so that's one of the things that they could actually look for in developing plans and programs for the individuals for insurance.
So they'd still be able to share that info?
Only that info, that medical loss ratio. Okay, so now we're going to start seeing a whole other competition marketplace. And this is what has made dentistry great. This is what's made medicine great. This is what made, road making great, is competition.
Right.
And if we're going to have a new renaissance in healthcare and discovery and the way we pay for it, we need the insurers to do their fair share as well. And this is the first building block is to renaissance that new application.
Now, I understand it passed the House with a pretty wide majority. And is it in the hands...
415 to 7.
415 to 7? Wow.
Yeah, in fact, no one was against it, Doc. In fact, 6 of the members that voted against it were actually for it. They just didn't want to give me the credit. They wanted to give John Conyers, who's a good friend of mine, who's kept us alive for almost 3 decades, the credit. They were members of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh, okay.
And then the 7th member was one of our very own in Arizona, which is Ruben Gallego. And he came in, he saw my name, decided he was just going to vote against me, and then left the premises. And his staff said, no, you need to go back to change the vote, but he didn't get back in time.
Oh.
So he had to detail that he made a stupid decision on a bill without thinking. So
it's in the hands of the Senate?
There's nobody really against it.
Okay, that's great to know. Really great.
Yeah.
And where is it now?
Now it's just a matter of getting it out in the Senate, and everybody in Congress will tell you that, the Democrats may be the opposition when you're talking as a Republican, but the Senate is always the enemy. You can have overwhelmingly positive things that sit and die in the Senate. Now, we're working very, very hard, and this is a perfect key. The leadership in the House is helping us move it. The President and Vice President are fully on our side with this one, trying to move it through. It is a key component to rebuilding anything that we do in healthcare reform, period, because we need everybody on the same page trying to help us recreate a healthcare system that has gone afoul.
Right. So do you know when it might come to a vote? Is it in committee now, or?
It is, and it could go to the floor almost immediately. That's the nature of the Senate. It could come out this week.
Really?
It could actually, yep. There's interesting things that can occur in the Senate. Right now they're bogged down in confirmations and looking at the health care bill, the working group. But it's come up as a subject of conversation. So it could be when we get back this week. It could be at the end of the summer. It could be anywhere in between.
What's it actually called?
It's a great sign.
Yeah.
It basically repeals McCarran-Ferguson, the exemption of Sherman and Clayton antitrust.
Okay, and the biggest thing that you said today that I had not thought of, literally had not thought of, and I've thought of this for a lot of years, as you know, was the fact that they were granted that at a time when there were no computers. They needed to be able to share information to understand their own business model, to understand that they were collecting the proper amount amount of premiums to pay what they were risking, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. They were developing the protocols, and ours only deals with the medical insurance industry, the healthcare insurance industry. It doesn't deal with life and casualty, which has some nuances, Doc, that they'll have to figure out first before they can actually be subject to the same rules that we're making the health industry the same way.
I see.
And even the insurers understand this is a time that now come and has to go forward.
Okay.
So, very, very important.
Okay, Dr. Gosar, on that note, I think we're going to take a break because what we're going to do is we're going to do Dr. Kvitko's question of the day. But before we do, we would like you to listen to this.
This station will not be held liable for any contesting during The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko. Participation in the contest allows Dr. Kvitko to record and broadcast your name and call. One winner per household. Prizes are non-transferable, cannot be substituted, and are subject to taxes and fees. This station cannot be responsible for the inability to enter the contest, whether due to equipment malfunction or telephone difficulties. All decisions of Dr. Kvitko concerning this contest or eligibility are final.
And now it's time for Dr. Kvitko's question of the day.
All right, and the question is, my guest today, Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona's 4th District, introduced legislation into House, which has since passed, that would repeal the McCarran-Ferguson Act. Is that true or is that false? All right, the winner's going to receive free flowers from DeSantis Florist. They'll be delivered to your place of business this Tuesday afternoon. The number to call, 614-459-9769. That's 614-459-9769. So go ahead and call now.
You won't believe it though. I wanna hear your mind, and there's nothing else in the world tonight. She said people don't take the time. Hey, people don't take the time.
Hi, I'm Keith Carlos, winner of America's Next Top Model and star of Chocolate City 2. Look for my smile on the big screen this summer, courtesy of Dr. Kvitko. Stay tuned to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko, the world's most interesting dentist.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kvitko, general dentist and host of the Reasons We Smile radio and roadshow. Did you know that you no longer need to visit several different dental professionals to get more complete dental care? We handle everything from cleanings and orthodontics to restoration, implants, and smile makeovers, all in my office. And now we have 2 locations. Get the most advanced technology and procedures available today. It's more complete dentistry.
Visit worldsmostinterestingdentist.com for more info about Dr. Kvitko.
Dr. Kvitko, let's go!
Hi, this is Richard Simmons. Dr. Kvitko's here, and he's going to help you with all of your problems. Are your teeth yellow? He can fix that. Are you missing a tooth? He can put a new one in. How is that?
That's very good. Thank you, Richard. All right, we're back. We're doing Dr. Kvitko's question of the day. We have 4 callers on the line. The answer to today's question was true. Yes, Congressman Gosar did introduce legislation to repeal the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which has passed the House and is now waiting on the Senate. Okay, so would my producer please tell me who's the winner of the flowers from DeSantis Florist? Who had the correct answer? True.
Erica from Columbus.
Congratulations to our winner. Thank you so much for calling in and listening. All right, so if you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Kvitko. This is The Reasons We Smile, episode number 495. And today we are speaking with Congressman Paul Gosar from Arizona's 4th District. So Congressman Gosar, I want to go off topic a little bit, and hopefully we can still get back to what I said I wanted to cover, because I saw a story on television, and I believe it because I've heard other stories about this, where life insurance companies can know that a person died, they have a copy of their death certificate in the file, and yet they will not pay on life insurance unless somebody discovers there was a policy. That just seems immoral.
Well, I mean, once again, if we were more consumer-centric in our policies, you and me, when we look at a patient, we are forming a contract. And insurance, as I look at it as, is a form of contract between a patient or an individual and the insurer. And so there's got to be truth in lending to that application. So there's a broader conversation that needs to come forward that is customer service friendly and customer dictated appropriateness. So from that standpoint, I think this is a whole new opportunity that we're exposing with the health industry, but should not end there.
Okay.
We need to see it in life and casualty and everywhere else. They have to be subject to the same Sherman antitrust and Clayton antitrust laws as the health industry is going to be shortly.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I'm thinking there might be a way around that even faster, which would be, can't we require when a life insurance policy is purchased that it be recorded in the auditor's office of that particular county so that there is always a record?
You could. It seems to me, though, that is one possibility. I hate to give our counties too much more work. They're overworked as they already are. But
don't we record marriage licenses? We record divorces. Can't we record when somebody has life insurance so that we know the family's going to be taken care of?
There is a point of discussion for that, Doc. Very good point.
And I know that's not why I asked you to call, but something to think about, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And it's along the lines of, okay, so let me just switch for a moment to the non-covered services provision. In Ohio, it was proposed and passed in our state house by the representatives twice and died twice. It got to the Senate, but it never got out of committee. And we are represented by Delta Dental, Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. And if you look at the map of the states that have passed laws that make this practice illegal, there's a big hole in the middle. Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. 40 states have made this illegal. And yet we can't seem to get it made illegal in Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. It seems also like once something has been determined to be illegal in a certain number of states, maybe I ought to just throw the other ones in. I mean, if I were doing something
illegal, it'd be nice, but the state sovereignty issue is one of those technical aspects you have to confront.
But if I was doing something that was so illegal that was determined to be illegal by 40 states, I don't think I would sleep at night if I kept doing it. And yet, not only are they still doing it, they're fighting tooth and nail, and they keep getting it defeated. Probably because of the donations they make to the state legislators.
It probably has a lot to do that. And once again, goes back to our original comment about McCarran-Ferguson, is you have men, if we're doing our job, that may be a collusive activity.
Yeah, okay, I see.
So now that kind of gives validation, like we were saying, starting the baby steps that we talked about several years ago, is that the first prong is the repeal of McCarran-Ferguson to make them compete against each other with only the bare necessities that they can communicate with.
Okay.
That's not just medical. That's dental as well. That's anything that's related to healthcare. In that perception.
Okay.
And the second part is as I talked about earlier, is that the help that it actually comes with panels. Delta Dental and members are a panel. You can look at them just like physicians are with Kaiser Permanente or Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so you're going to start to see some changes in that regard to that application, as well as most favored nation status, which is where insurers actually dictate that if you are on their on their panel, you have to suffice to the rules based that they put forward in that application, and that covers those non-covered services.
Okay. So you feel like this is just going to be the first step, and then maybe the dominoes will start to fall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any idea on a time frame?
Well, there's other things. Some of the things that we've actually carried for, Doc, is a patient's bill of rights, where basically what happens is that going back to the concept of a contract, that insurance is a contract with an insurer versus a patient. And let's say the patient is me. And let's say that they want me to stay in panel, but I don't want to. I should still have some benefit to taking that outside, even if it's lower than if I stayed in panel. I should have the ability to move and direct that to whoever I want to, and say, listen, I'm going to go to the doctor, good dentist,
right?
And I would like to take my benefit and apply it to him and sign it over directly to him. There should be a mechanism that bases that on that application to it, so that the services you can seek to whoever you want to seek.
Okay.
That flexibility, but also allows that payment to go directly to that dentist as well.
Right. Instead of what they do now is they insist on sending the money directly to the patient if you're not in their network, knowing full well that oftentimes people take that money and buy a birthday gift for their wife, or they pay off a credit card, or they go on vacation, and it's not a game. I think they think it's a game, but it's a game they play, and it works to their benefit.
Well, and once again, it comes back to customer service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're here on behalf of the patient, and that's why it should be patient-centric, patient-focused, patient beneficial. And that's the way that a contract should work. And that's what we have to reel back in. It's an arduous system that has been built over the last 70 years. And so we're reeling this back one peel of an onion at a time.
Okay, and by the way, 57 of those years, they haven't raised the yearly maximum per patient per year.
I know. Anyway.
And it would be longer if they had dental insurance prior to 1960, but there wasn't, right?
Yeah, well, and when you start looking at the things that, the healthcare application is looking at, there were things called Christian ministry health cares that allowed you to share your healthcare costs, and that was 1/3 to 1/2 at very maximum of what current premiums were going at.
Really?
And there's lots of opportunities here. And there's I sat down with actuarials from the major insurers. There's a lot of opportunities here. Some are restricted by the insurance industry. Some are restricted by the federal government. So I want to give credit where credit's due, but also hold those harmful that maybe are not part of the conversation.
Okay.
And those are people with federal law and in Health and Human Services or CMS.
Okay. You know what? Looks like it's time for us to go to a break. You're listening to The Reasons We Smile with Dr. Kvitko, episode number 495, and we will be right back.
You can't take me as I am, not just a little bit. I don't know who to be. I'm a paper cup, baby, of the sea. I know you see it too, 'cause you're too much for me.
This is Clark Kellogg. Stay tuned for more of Dr. Kvitko.
Estás escuchando con Dr. Kvitko aquí en su estación favorita.
Hi, I'm Dominique Reichert. Like what you hear? Why not use the show to promote your product or service by becoming a sponsor? Call 614-262-9588 to learn how. That's 614-262-9588. Call now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kvitko, general dentist and host of the Reasons We Smile radio and roadshow. I've been honored to help several famous people get a perfect smile, like Keith Carlos and Dominique Reigard from America's Next Top Model, and Ted the Golden Voice Williams from right here in Columbus. Isn't it time you had a celebrity smile? It costs less than you might think, and most of the time, it can be done in one visit. A new smile can make a world of difference.
Visit worldsmostinterestingdentist.com for more info about Dr. Kvitko.
I'm Grandpa, and I go to Dr. Kvitko, and I still have all my teeth. Real ones. Where's my glasses?
All right, we're back. If you're just joining us, I'm Dr. Kvitko. This is The Reasons We Smile. It's episode number 495. We are talking with Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona's 4th District. Now, we hear a lot about access to care issues. And you talk about rural areas where there aren't enough dentists. I'm going to concentrate on dentists, but the same goes for physicians, that sometimes there are places in the country where there aren't enough. In dentistry, people are proposing this thing called the dental therapist model. And the dental therapist model is someone who, out of high school, after, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it would be, was it 9 months or was it a little over a year of training, would be allowed to drill teeth, extract teeth, and do everything that a dentist does without a dentist there, which means that potentially you could have a 19-year-old extracting and drilling teeth with no dentist in the room, or even within 100 miles. And that's scary. That's scary.
It's wrong.
You've been to dental school.
It's wrong because most of the application, and I know quite a bit of that, I sat on the Council of Government Affairs for the American Dental Association during the expose with Alaska and the dental health aid therapist. And basically what you're doing is you're taking somebody with very little qualifications and you're doing treatment on the most, they got the higher incidence of healthcare risks.
Right.
Particularly with Native Americans. higher incidence for diabetes and blood pressure, bleeding, infection rates. That's not somebody you want to send with less care. It's more care,
less
and
training,
education that's required.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Take somebody with the least amount of training, and you give them with the toughest patients.
And this is absolutely wrong, what we're trying to do here. And what we're trying to tell dentists right now is I've got a son-in-law who's in dental school. You're going to do more years. They want to start pushing it to 5 years. Well, something's wrong with this, particularly when you have public health and these entities like Kellogg and Pew trying to push these dental health aid therapists along the public health access. There's better ways to do that, and there's not too few dentists. They're just in different places.
Right.
They need to be spread out. But we have to acknowledge some of those applications. Education docs taught us a lot about displacement of students. They told us that if you displaced a student for 1 year, to get them back was about 80% chance. After 2 years, you had a 50% chance. And after 3 years, you had less than 5%.
Wow.
But when you do it in reverse order, for example, when you bring a doctor back that does loan repayment back to a state or a county or a city or a town, if they were there 1 year, you have about a 20% chance of keeping them there. After 2 years, 50% chance. After 3 years, about a 95% chance.
Right.
So there's ways of retooling this that we need to start looking at it and expressing those applications.
And
some of the new dental schools have shown, some of those opportunities for students to go out into these rural areas to start seeing the benefits of being a dentist or a physician out in the rural areas. There's a whole big side and benefit to it.
Right, you're right. You help them with their cost of college education, of dental school training, and then they kind of become a part of the community. They like it. Their kids start to grow up there, and they don't want to leave.
You got it. And there's so many little things, but when you look at the indebtedness of dentists, and I'm going to pick on dentists here first, because if you can usually get a dentist, you'll get a physician to follow. But think of a small town that needs a dentist. Maybe what they do is they help them in their loan repayment, or maybe even the setting up of an office where they give them a lower rent on a building that they own that's now vacant, to get that care in there.
Right.
There's lots of creative ways that I've seen communities start looking at this. And a lot of times when you get a dentist, you'll see a physician come in too. And that fundamentally builds your core application to healthcare to a community.
Does it work the other way too? A physician first, a dentist follow?
It is, but the problem that we have is that usually that physician is a family physician. And right now what's happened is you don't see very many family physicians. They're either located or have been bought out and moved into hospital settings.
Right.
And the problem there is that the family doctor got lower and lower and lower reimbursement models for procedures. In fact, a lot of the procedures at the front end, they were losing money. And what CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, would tell them is, we'll do more of them. Well, you and I both understand in business that if it costs you $1 to do the service and you're only getting 20 cents, stop. Doing more of them just puts you in debt faster.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's our problem is that so much of what we see now in medicine is all in specialty, because only the specialists are making the money.
Right.
The family docs, the only ones that are making money or can stay solvent are associated with hospitals or with insurance plans. So what we got to do is, that's why we have to have a reinvigoration on the healthcare market, so that we can get those family docs back into going to school for being family docs, to be that gateway practitioner that does a little with a lot and knows how to triage somebody and move them into a specialty, a specialist of care. That's what dentistry still does well, but medicine could take an example from us to return to the way that medicine was being delivered originally. But it's got to make it so that people can make a living at it.
Absolutely, Congressman Gosar. I couldn't have said it better, and that really is the crux of the problem, isn't it? I just realized that I am out of time. I thank you so much for joining me on today's show, and I want to have you back because there are obviously things we didn't get to cover. So everyone, stay tuned. But that's all the time we have today. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Kvitko and visit my office Facebook page and like us. That's Dr. Kvitko and Associates. Remember that all past episodes, complete with video, are available at thereasonswesmile.com. Be sure to tune in next week and every week right here on your favorite station. Goodbye.
Carly Red from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the hit show on VH1, urging you to tune in next week with my dentist, Dr. Kvitko.
If you're interested in learning more about this and other dental health topics, go to thereasonswesmile.com to access full episodes of Dr. Kvitko's show.
If you'd like Dr. Kvitko, the world's most interesting dentist, to speak at your next event, please call 614-262-9588. That's 614-262-9588, or send an email to speaking@thereasonswe